Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take 10 with your host, Chris Smith of Universes Academy. Today, I have a very special guest with me. You may not be able to see him because my camera keeps cutting in and out of just dumb Wi-Fi things, but I have today with me Rob Snyder of the Guile Treatment, of multiple PTC wins of UFS, and the reigning, defending MCS Michigan champion. Still.
Oof. Yeah.
He is still there. So...
it's just like Kevin is the Canadian champ, right?
Correct.
I can't lose it if they never have another one.
You got that right, man. You got that right. So me and Rob have a great history of doing a podcast type thing together. We did the Guile Treatment for about 2, maybe 3 years. It definitely was close to 100 episodes, if I remember correctly. It was a lot. It might have been close to 100. I don't remember how many, but it was close.
I don't either. I know it was probably 2 years, I think.
Yeah, it was at least 2.
That sounds right.
And it started happenstance of like, well, I got nothing else to do. You got anything to do? You want to talk about this game? And we all know that me and Rob can talk about the game. So, granted, for the better or for the worse. So, luckily, we filled a void that everybody wanted, and they loved it for some random reason. So I have no idea why, but whatever. They love to listen to two old men, grumpy old men talk. So. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Rob. We appreciate you hopping on.
Sure.
And your busy ass schedule of going to work, going to locals. I think our viewers of the Guile Treatment will be very disappointed you don't have a burrito in hand. So
Sorry, guys. Next time.
But so as we get started, I want to say thanks for hopping on because I know you're doing your thing and we're all doing our thing and everyone is trying to just get by with everything. First, since we have a lot of new players into the game who may not know you as a player personally or whatever.
I mean, I would think that would be most of them. So
yeah, I would see so because I don't think you've traveled for anything and you don't play webcam events. So
yeah, I don't play online.
Yeah.
And I'm borrowing this webcam to do this, and I gotta return it so Scott can play in the webcam thing tomorrow. I guess I should probably talk to him about that.
Yeah, he definitely. I saw he signed up for it. So yeah. So yeah. If you want to give everybody at home kind of like a walkthrough of your history leading up to where we're at in the game, maybe like your CCG history, because I know you're a big fan of the versus system, the OG versus system, and we've had many talks with this. And how did you get into I guess UFS at the time, but Universes now, and just want to give people like a run through of what led you up to playing the game.
I guess I had a local card shop. I played. I mean, I dabbled a little bit in I guess Magic and actually L5R. There was a guy who worked at the local comic and card shop that loved the old L5R. I think it was I want to say Diamond Edition or Era or something like that.
Okay.
This was back probably in the early 2000s. So I played a little bit of that, and after Versus, which you mentioned, came out, I think that was in, I want to say 04. We didn't get in right away. We got in with the Marvel Knights set.
Okay.
The owner of that shop was a huge fan of it. It was pretty similar to Magic, but like many games of the era was basically it was Magic, but we did something better about the resource system.
Sure.
And so we had a pretty good group there. We played a lot of that, and when the original when UFS first came out, and it was basically the Street Fighter game, and that was sweet. So we tried it at the time. I think we stuck with it for a couple sets. But it was expensive, and I don't think the system was very well developed at the time.
Okay.
It was not terribly enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up dropping it and just playing Versus.
Okay.
And that ended up, I guess Versus ended in late 2008 or something.
Yeah.
And I was off at school, finished up school. And I happened on a comment about dead card games, and I think it was Joe Tonello, who is another name that your newer viewers are going to have no idea who that is. Is a guy in Tennessee, and he mentioned that UFS was not in fact a dead card game, and they had just come out with the Mega Man set.
Mm-hmm.
And I had many fond memories of Mega Man, so I checked it out. He sent me an Ultra Link, and I saw Snake Man, who pumped all of his low attacks, which I thought was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked Scott into picking some up with me. We split some stuff. I guess like some tins and a few like common uncommon sets.
Yeah.
And ended up starting probably right before Warriors of the Night, which is sweet because like I always liked the Darkstalkers characters too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, we pretty much played from then, probably from I guess that was like 2015, up until like COVID. And
yeah.
And I have not. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I have not done really any tournaments at all for My Hero, but we have like a small local scene that's been working out. So yeah.
And I unpause. Okay, so we're back after some technical difficulties, because what's an episode of the OG Guile Treatment without technical difficulties? So
don't worry, this is actually the second time we've recorded this.
I mean, it's not as bad.
No, it's not.
It's not as bad as the Ashley episode when we had her go through the entire episode, and I didn't record audio, and she came back the next day. I think we talked about the story. We talk about the story like all the time, and it's one of the better stories of the Guile Treatment, because how badly I fucked up all the time. So, and I was able to just like fake it for like the longest time. So, but so you were talking about your history and about how you loved Mega Man and you wanted to try that out, and then Warriors of the Night hit, and then you played all the way up through the dark times, through the Bebop, until COVID, where COVID basically killed Universal Fighting System, but they were in a transitional mode to universes into the My Hero game.
Right.
So with the My Hero game, I know you've enjoyed the format some more than the previous standard formats. What have you liked about the MHA format in general, and any specifics you want to give?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like a little bit of the back to basics. I mean, if you're familiar with our older stuff, like you'll know I was not a fan of sort of the out of control direction that like design was going, where it was just it was just going, There's a lot of like the power creep was really out of hand, and I'm not surprised at all where it sort of ended up.
Yeah.
So like that's nice. I mean, it's just really just the the stats on attacks. Like I'm glad that we're back to just sort of the thing of like 3s and 4s, and just you actually have to play like an attack string to like kill people instead of just hitting them with like one thing. So I mean that's nice. I don't know. I mean, there certainly is like a huge selection of characters. I know. I certainly haven't played all of them. So there's like lots of options with that. But at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of the like issues that exist, I think, are mostly just lack of options that come from being like a 1 or 2 set meta. So I'm always sort of like I'm waiting for what is a Hero Clash, I guess is the one that's coming out. So like definitely interested to see that. Seems like sort of a strange distribution. Looks like it's just a few characters right at the start, and so I think it's shaping up as though it has almost the entirety of the set is going to be what we sort of referred to as like back page cards, where they kind of are going to just build support in for existing strategies, which I think is really beneficial, because there's a lot of stuff. There's some things that are like quite developed, like the range stuff, the like void kicks and stuff like that. But
punches, stuff like that.
There's a lot of like other strategies that could definitely like use a little bit of love. So I could definitely see this as sort of expanding on viability of different strategies. So
see, that was something that we both liked about the Versus System card game, where you would have your new set stuff for like the first 3 to 6 pages, and then you would get 2 to 3 pages of legacy content is what they kind of called it, where you get stuff for older teams or strategies. So
Yeah, you got that, and I mean, you also had like generics and stuff too, which
yeah, very true.
it's pretty tough to do. I mean, they do it, I guess, with like the triple infinity stuff, but definitely like with this, right? If you're on like a symbol, it's like you might get, right. For instance, like if you're really just like, man, I love like Bakugo 2. And it's like, okay, well, they might make new like fire cards, but that doesn't mean that they made new like fire fury combo cards.
Yeah, very
So
true. Very true.
yeah, it sort of just depends on like how open ended your character is, and like how the keyword support kind of like falls for them.
Do you think that the new kind of tribal method of deck building have kind of like they laid it out, like the punches, the kicks, the ranged package? Do you think that hinders the game or helps the game out?
I don't know. I think it helps in some ways because it sort of lets you. I guess it almost gives you just like a starting point. If it's just like, all right, I need like these cards. But I think like especially if the character is too pigeonholed in that regard, like they can be like borderline unplayable.
Sure.
I mean, somebody like, for instance, like Tokiyami, like 2, he's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, like the ally support like isn't great, and like he has almost nothing that he can ready that like does anything to help him. Like he's rough times.
Yeah, because like then on the opposite hand, you have Asui, who is ranged and kick, and she's probably the best character in the meta right now. So it's kind of weird how some characters get more fleshed out than others, but
I mean, part of that too is just like her ability is absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And also that, like, I mean, think about, oh yeah, I can only play like range cards. Like, okay, well, you still have like Frog Lashing and like Tongue Whip.
Yeah,
so
and Heat Wave and shit like that. Yeah. She has some of the best attacks available to her. Yeah.
Right, and like I guess that's the thing, right? Is like those attacks are good anyway. Like other people play those attacks like that don't care about keywords.
Yeah.
So, and they happen to have the keywords that she wants. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's more that it kind of like further divides like the existing card pool even more. I think that it's the kind of thing that's fine for like once more sets come out, but especially like early on, it pretty much is going to end up like you're going to have characters where you can really only like play them viably on like one symbol because
I get
like
that.
That's sort of the symbol that has like the stuff. I mean, like somebody like a lot of like the Edas, like I guess what Eda 3 wants EX not kicks, but like I guess the 2 dot doesn't care about kicks either. So we'll just say the 1, right, who wants to play like kick attacks. But like, there's no fire kicks. There's what 1, maybe 2
outside of his support.
Yeah. And so, right, I mean, and you can just play all his support, like that's fine. But again, it's sort of like you're really locked into like your options, and so then it sort of becomes like, when are you going to get a new card? And I guess if you without the options, like if you have a matchup where you're having trouble, like it's not like you can go like, oh well, like let me change this to that and see how that works. Like it just isn't
kind
a
of
lot
stuck with what you got. So leads me to my kind of next question off the format stuff is a lot of people, in the past you've played decks like Gutsman, Iceman, a lot of the not the top tier guys. I mean, you played Vega, who was a top tier character, so that was just kind of
sure.
But would you consider yourself like a control type player, or would you say like what kind of decks do you like to play mostly in the current format? Like, what are you gearing towards? What are you looking to do when you play, other than annoy the shit out of people?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I would say like especially in like versus, especially like I was more of sort of like an exhaustion like control type player. A lot of like Doctor Doom stuff like that, where you just sort of like end up stealing turns and like tapping stuff. So like that went well with, for instance, like Gutsman, that was reversals and stun. The idea was just to be like disruptive and kind of like just steal turns. There's not as much of that now, just because like without reversals, it's very much like there's still stuff that you can do. I mean, like if a lot of the order cards, something like Jolt or shock treatment. I mean, you can tap key things. So there's ways to do it. I just don't think there's sort of like that dedicated control type. It's much more about being able to like block everything or block everything that's important. Like probably right now, I think everyone would agree that Momo 1 is the best sort of card control type deck of just putting the game to like an absolute grind. Like she's so difficult to kill, and she just sort of like gets the chance to kind of just wait until she has an opening, and then she can just go find the attacks that she needs. She's very much like, unless you find like a way to just absolutely blow her doors off, like she's gonna kind of grind the game to a halt, and you're gonna play it on her terms.
Yeah, I found that out at Gen Con this past weekend, playing Travis in top 8. I'd never played against a Momo before. Like I've played as the character, but never really. But this was like in her set 1 days, so she wasn't as powerful, and it was on a different symbol as well. So, I did realize that after game 1 where he almost milled me, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to get milled on camera, so I'm just going to go in and have him kill me on the backswing because I just need to get this game over with so I can go to game 2 and then just aggress the entire time, because that's what happened in game 2 was I was able to just push every turn as hard as I can while him blowing up resources, because it would put him behind in build because of her ability, because of release, because of rescue completed. It's just able to push, and then in game 3 was game 3, and I misplayed big time by not calling, hey, you can't do that to my punch and all that stuff. So, but anywho, that's in the past. So, but yeah, so you would say you're control-y, turn stealery type.
Yeah,
guy,
I mean that's definitely like my kind of like perfect, like honestly, for the most part, like something like Vega or whatever, it's really just like, I just want to be as annoying as possible. I want you to like, I want you to really just not have a very good time, which is, I guess, and that's the thing too, is like, I play like none of that at locals because we have like newer people. Like I want them to have a good time. Like if I'm playing in like a tournament, like I don't want my opponent to have a good time. But at locals, like I do want these guys to have a good time. I want them to keep coming back.
Yeah.
So I really haven't been delving into much of that at all. So I mostly play like crappy like mid-range six-handers and lose a lot. So that's cool.
I mean, like you were like back when we had the website, you did build that. You had that Midoriya deck profile, and that we
I like that deck.
Yeah, that deck.
It was terrible at the time. I mean, I played it against Guile. It was
of course against Guile, because he got banned later. But yeah, so that was something else too that also kind of was kind of chit-chatting with you over the past few months, that you actually guys have a local scene now in Baltimore, which is fantastic. And do you think it's mostly because of the IP, or to the fact that
it's 100% the IP?
Okay.
Like 100%. Like these people, like the only reason that the store even was like carrying the game is because of the IP. Okay. They had a couple employees that liked it, and I guess they saw it at like Gen Con or whatever. Like they found out about it, and then the IP was absolutely the draw. A bunch of the people that were playing, like they're playing because they like the characters. And so once they're in, it's more about just like holding on to them. I know it's tough. A lot of people right now with just like the cost of everything. We've definitely like lost a few players that just like really couldn't can justify like the cost of like gas to come out and play, the cost of like new set dropping, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely.
But we're definitely trying to be as sort of like open and helpful as possible, and just like, hey, if that day doesn't work for you, we can do it a different day. We can do this. We can, if you need some commons and uncommons, we'll help you out. But I mean, sort of whatever you can do, and you try to obviously like you want people coming in to buy stuff at the store too, because you want them to keep getting, you want them to order the next set.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we figured out what you like about the format. We've talked about what kind of decks do you play. So as a veteran of the game, Maybe not as of my hero traveling, but you've traveled many a times for the older version of the game. What
Mm-hmm.
do you look what do you when building a deck for like a bigger event? What do you kind of hone in on? Just to give some tips to like newer players. Like what do you hone in on for like going into like a bigger event?
I mean, to be honest, like the main thing that I would like be considering probably if I'm getting ready for an event is what decks have been doing well. And especially now, especially without diversity, which, man, just shout outs to no diversity. I love it.
Same.
But like, so actually, we have a local that I believe is planning to play in the provisional tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
It probably isn't tomorrow when this comes out, but yeah,
Yeah,
this
definitely.
past weekend,
Yeah.
or maybe a couple weekends ago. I don't
Yeah.
know. So he was sort of getting ready, and like he's playing I wouldn't necessarily call it like a meta deck at all. But he was sort of talking about what he should be ready for, and it was just like, you need to worry about Asui, you need to worry about Kirishima 2, you need to worry about Momo. Like, so I would just say, like, you can have the deck that you want to build, but like you should absolutely like know your matchups, and like you should know like what their game plan is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to do anything to like make your matchup against something like good. It may always be sort of like a losing matchup. But as long as you kind of know what they want to do, like it makes your decision making better. Like you kind of know when you play, like what they're trying to do, like what kind of, probably what attacks you have to worry about if it's, more of like the popular build, kind of what blocks ins to hold, stuff like that. And then I guess on top of that, I almost have like checkbox like that I want to kind of hit when I go through, where it's like, I want to have some card draw. I want to have like I want to meet a criteria of like certain block zones, or I want like, something that smooths that out. Like, so it'd be something like wall cling or something, right? Where it goes, okay, maybe I don't have a ton of high blocks, but I can block highs with mids if I have this in play. That's what I would say. It's sort of just a generic like hit list of effects that I want to try to include. Like you can't include them in everything. But really, if I'm going to a big event, I want to have like at least matchup experience against some of like what I would consider the better decks.
Yeah.
Just like there's nothing worse than like sitting down and being like, oh, I've heard about this deck, like I guess we'll find out what it does, and like you don't have a chance,
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I've been doing with my All Might 3 deck, because like after like the second provisional, I just wasn't finding anything, and then my buddy Corey was like, I'm playing All Might 3, check this out, and I built it, and I'm just like, this deck is awesome. It kind of gave me that old Kotal Khan type feeling in my old man heart, and I felt like really attached to it, and it always brings me back to this thing that Tim Keefe said, is that he is more afraid of someone playing a character on like their 10th iteration of the deck than they are of someone on their first, because that means they have the matchup knowledge, they know what the deck can do, they know the deck's deficiencies, so they can plan for certain things. And I think that does have to be like something said about this game, is like you can play like a B tier character. Not that All Might 3 is a B tier character, no, by no means. He's an A tier, higher A in my opinion. Um, you could play like a B or a C and bump them up a grade by knowing your matchups. D tier character, let's just say that's probably a long shot, but you could definitely top with the C tier character if you put them, if you put
I guess
in.
like what I would say for like the season 1 stuff, I mean, Denki won a PTC, and like there, you'll find the people that say like, no, he's great, like his R is like his once per game is like so good, like this is like a legit character. But I mean, even the guy who won, like when he was talking about it, he's like, yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was gonna win. I just was trying to have a fun time. But that's somebody who, like, even just watching some of the videos of him, it was like, oh man, like this guy's put in like hours. You know, like you could see like when he triggered certain things, like the play lines he took, and actually in that, like, that's, I guess, the other advice we gave this guy, like, when he was starting out, is he was like debating like which deck to take, and we basically said like, we don't know if this is like your best deck, but it's definitely the deck that like you've played the most, you know the most, like you seem to make the best decisions with, so like just play that, like, because right, like you said, it's like it's the one he's the most comfortable with, and like when you're in like a tough spot, like you want, it's sort of something where like you've already done like the reps with it, so like you're more likely to make the correct choice.
Sure. Totally agree.
Because like you said, the biggest thing is there's so much complexity with this game. Like, you're not going to play perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Your opponent is going to make mistakes. And so like you don't need to play perfect, you just need to play like well, and you know, you need to, like and you need to get a little bit lucky too, like you know, like you can make the best choices in the world, and when you check that 3 at the wrong time, you're gonna lose, like,
trust
just
me,
how it is.
I think anyone who's played this game for more than, you know, a couple years, or maybe if you're a newer player playing the game and you know that all too well, it's like, hey, I'm on this line where you're dead if I just check not a 3. I could check a 4 and still win or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so we're to the point of the episode where everyone's favorite segment hits, and it's where Ryan cues all the special effects. It's the lightning round. Hit the special effects, Ryan, and then like. And all that fun stuff. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. I need the first thing that comes to your mind. You can expound on it if you want to, but I need the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Okay.
Sure. Your favorite food?
Ooh, pizza.
Okay, that's a good choice. Batman or Superman?
Oh, Batman. Okay. Superman sucks.
Yeah, I get that. Favorite universe's symbol? It can also span back to the older version of the game.
I mean, if it's like if it's just forever, it's life for sure.
I figured as much. Because I think I actually know, because we come back to that question in a little bit, and I have a feeling I know what you're going to answer. So, your favorite attack in the MHA format?
Ooh. Man, that one I'm not sure. We're gonna go reciprocal acceleration kick.
Ooh, that's a good one. I really like that one. Why is that one your favorite, by the way?
I mean, I think it's just. I mean, I guess it's like I like the sort of the payoff of like clearing like your card pool of like other attacks to like boost this attack, and like it kind of has some other sort of like tricky interactions that you know it does well. So
on that kick, I was playing my Old Dogs New Quirks deck this weekend against Nick Reagan's Turbo Man, and then Mitchell played Robert versus his Ava, and that card is such a beating in Robert. It is hilarious. It gets powerful 3 and 1,000,000 speed, and nothing lives after that. It's fantastic.
There you go. I mean, yeah, you'll be able to put a bunch of speed on it too with what's his face, right? The new eraser.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's gonna.
So you can't give it the powerful, but you can sure give it the speed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then more speed.
And then you just kill your opponent because it's awesome. All-time favorite MLB player?
Ooh. I mean, I gotta go with the childhood hero, right? Cal Ripken Jr.
Okay, I figured as much. Being a Baltimore fan, I figured as much. And that ends the lightning round. It's only 5 questions. It's not very hard, but it's fun. I love doing the lightning round because we get to find out little things about you that maybe people didn't know. So question number 6. We've discussed the your history.
You know what? You know what?
What?
Cal Ripken was the easy answer. I'm going Mike Messina. I loved Mike Messina.
Oh, really?
Like, oh man, I did. It broke my heart when he left for the Yankees, but like, I understood, and the fact that he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer is a crime. Like, he was better than Tom Glavine, and Tom Glavine got in first ballot.
Oh
So
yeah, well, that's because he was on the Braves, and the Braves suck. So that's
yeah,
why.
I mean Tom Glavine was good,
Yes,
but
he
Mike
was.
Mussina was better than Tom
But the
Glavine.
Braves
So
suck. So, and I'm not even a National League fan, so the Braves suck. So, I was tired of them always being in the World Series. It would make and them in the Yankees. I was always tired of seeing them in the World Series too. It got
well,
boring,
yeah, I mean.
you know. But I'm a White Sox fan, so we can only win one every like 80 years or some shit like that. So.
That sounds nice. I could go for one right now. I think
Yeah.
we're at what? Or the Orioles last one in what 83,
I think
so
so.
40 years next year. So that's cool.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not terrible.
I mean,
So I.
I wasn't alive. I so here we'll go on a tangent now.
Yeah,
So like
tangents.
when I
Love
was
it.
a kid, I knew people that were like Boston fans, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, we haven't won since like 1916," and it's just like.
Like the
It's
Cubs,
like
like
you're 20
1903.
years old. Like
Yeah.
your team has not won for the same amount as like my team, which is the
Mhm.
Warriors. Like sure they won in '83, but like
Yeah.
I wasn't alive. I didn't get to enjoy it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess you get the misery of like your parents and grandparents like put on like Boston like they've never won or the
Yeah.
Cubs, right? You're
Yeah.
being in Chicago. I'm sure you heard
Yeah.
about the Cubs
Oh
all,
yeah, all the
but
time.
they got their one,
Yep.
and like you don't ever have to hear about it from them again, right?
Other than the
They,
fact that
they can
like we should have.
complain, and you can be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you guys got your one.
They were like, we should have won more, and like they probably should have won at least one more, but no, that doesn't. It's not the way it works, man. It's not the way it works.
The White Sox won in what? Oh
Oh
05?
five, yeah. Oh five, yeah.
Yeah, see.
We have that window open right now, but we have the wrong manager in place. The wrong manager. This is the best part. This interaction will be Tim Keefe's favorite part of the podcast because he is a huge
There you go,
baseball fan. So, God bless that
man.
man, and he's a Mets fan. So, Tim Tebow, baby, Tim Tebow. So.
I don't think he's with the Mets anymore.
Nah, but I always gave Tim crap because I was like, he's gonna play for them one day. You know this, right? It's gonna happen. So we got your favorite types of decks to play. We got some opinions on preparing for a giant event. What would you like to see in the future of the game? Whether it be like a set direction or OP direction or just an overall blanket thing, what would you like to see from Jasco in general for the game?
I mean, right now, I want to see like other licenses. I mean, I would say that's like the number one thing, and like I've sort of heard various things, and like I just think like for the most part, like My Hero is definitely still like popular. It still has people's attention, but like it's a limited amount of cards. I mean, I guess you could do like a Dragon Ball like Super or whatever, and just be like, dude, we're just gonna keep making the same characters over and over again forever until
Mm-hmm.
Bandai decides not to. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I just think it would be fine to still like focus on My Hero, but it would be nice to get at least like one other license set
Yeah.
next year.
Gotcha.
Just to mix it up. I feel like that was sort of the thing too, is like that was always kind of one of the big draws for UFS, was the idea of just sort of like it was a crossover game, it
Mm-hmm.
was that ability to have like this character versus that character from like different licenses. I mean, I think it's something you see even now, like people love like the Marvel vs. Capcom games. People are pretty hype about like the new like multiverses thing
Yeah.
for like WB and stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like that idea of like characters you would never see together, like getting to have them like side by side or
Yeah.
against each other.
Yeah.
So
Totally understand. Totally agree. Yeah, I would like to see something. I understand that they probably want the My Hero format to stand on its own after a certain
sure,
amount
sure,
of
sure.
sets, but I would definitely like to see like a Yu Yu Hakusho set 2 or
I mean, I
you
don't
know
care about that, but I mean, some
like
people would.
Demon Slayer or get Street Fighter 6 in because the new game's coming out next year. Like a fighting game would be kind of nice because that's what the roots of their original of the mechanics are fighting games. Well, Penny
Yeah, I
Arcade's
mean,
the first
I
set, but
guess the thing is like I don't. They probably want to stick with like something that had like I think you would want to aim for something that's going to sort of like expand your audience more,
yeah,
and like I think that was sort of one of the downsides of like I love the fighting game stuff,
yeah,
but I don't think the audience for that was nearly as big as
mhm,
something like some of the anime and whatever. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think they should definitely be like targeting something that like will bring in like new players. I think
Yeah.
that I mean honestly, I think that's why we are where we are now. I think that the popularity of this was so much bigger than like anything they've done, and so now we're kind of on this track of like,
Yeah.
how do we maintain this,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah. So as a student of the old game and all that, what are some of the old effects in the old game that you like, the old version of universes that you would like to come back in My Hero? Granted, broken, not broken, whatever. Like if it's like your favorite, I get to make a 4 check for -1 damage or whatever. Because I think we've kind of talked about this before on another thing. I think on Bromley's podcast where I forget the name of that card. Portal Barrier was like
Portal barrier,
one of your favorite
sweet.
cards of all
Now
time.
portal
Yeah.
barrier was the MCS Michigan deck list thing,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
man.
But yeah, like what are some old effects you'd like to see come back? Because obviously you could see in the My Heroes set 1 and 2 and some of the previews of set 3, they're pulling inspiration from older cards like Mega Man's, the
Yeah,
King of
for sure.
Fighters, the Darkstalkers. What would
Um,
you like to see come back?
I mean, honestly, like probably like one of my favorite cards that I assumed like we would not get at all would be like No Mai, and we kind of got
Mm-hmm.
it with Hero
Mm-hmm.
Clash.
Oh yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely close. Like
Yeah.
you don't really get the sweep because you have to remove everything, and
Yeah.
like you only draw two. You don't draw for like however many cards in your pool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like that's a sweet card. I wish it wasn't a one,
I know.
but
Same.
whatever.
Same. I
I
know.
mean, it's sort of fun. I'll definitely like try it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be nearly as good. Just, I mean, obviously, like the static on that too, of just like
Yeah.
if it's your fourth attack, it doesn't count. Like
Towards
it
progressive.
ignores progressive. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that card was nuts.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely said that on the Bromley thing is like just uses for momentum for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, another card I really liked was Self Destruct.
Okay. Sure.
And I think like there's definitely certain matchups where like we could use something like that.
Mm.
It's tougher now with not being able to like off symbol actions, because
Mm-hmm.
that was something that like, because that was the only card that you were going to play that turn, it was super easy to just be like, if you have this symbol, like even if that's not the one you're playing, like just
Mm-hmm.
toss it in, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I mean those, I mean I definitely enjoyed like reversals, but I don't think they're coming back, and I don't know, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's like not an unreasonable position to have. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, so that's the thing too, right? Is there, so like maybe we don't just bring it back like wholesale, but like, man, like something like Dimension Door Ambush, like that was hype.
Yeah,
Like
that
that
was
was some fun
something that
stuff.
I've been
So,
kind of championing on any time we get to talk about the reversal keyword is if we get like these hand trap type effects like a Dimension Door Ambush or an Air Max Teleport Punch,
mhm,
because it's still an attack played on your opponent's turn. It's just
yeah,
something that you just totally don't screw. Like you do mess with their turn, their attack turn, but you just don't totally screw them over.
yeah. I guess the big thing though is like, I think there's so many characters right now that like were pretty clearly designed like to not be able to play, with the assumption that they will not be playing. I mean, someone
Yeah.
like Shigaraki, for instance, like
Yeah.
is so toxic if he starts playing attacks on like your opponent's turn.
Yeah, I agree.
And even somebody like, like Ochako, like one. I mean, we're granted right now, like she's pretty much always going to be like committed if she's attacking, but
Mhm.
just being able to like throw something out there and like get that free momentum. Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, we
But
talk but yeah. So, I would like to see like a curse like I guess we kind of saw it in Coda where we have the curse splat type effect where you can
mhm.
commit a foundation, something doesn't count towards prog. I would like that, but I don't want to give it to anybody on the water symbol because yeah, that water symbol's kind of cracked right now. So I would prefer, we kind of see that in some of the characters where was it 13 today was kind of Kadath and Airman kind of
Airman, baby.
mashed together. So I'm pretty sure Scott was happy because I know he was a big Airman fan. So
He was.
but I think in general, like if Jasko, we can get like a Mega Man classic set and we can just redo all the Robot Masters and I can do the Robot Master Invitational in Rockford again. That would be fantastic. Please give us the
There you go.
I want the Robot Master Invitational. Um, but yeah, so I know your love of baseball and our love of baseball. Me sometimes I'm more of a fair weather fan than you are, but
There you go.
with the coming baseball season coming to close and the baseball MHA movie, what does your perfect baseball team look like constructed of MHA characters? You don't have to fill
All
out the
right.
entire field, but if you
I
want
gotcha.
to, I'm not going to tell you no.
Yeah, so like you did sort of tease this a little bit, like, just like, hey, I think I'm gonna ask you this, so like just think about it a little bit, because whatever. But I gotta say, like, I don't think it took too long to figure some stuff out.
Okay.
So I was first thing for sure, Ida is in center field. He's like super fast, like that's what you need, covers tons of ground. So
Sure.
that's one.
Okay.
I'm thinking like Sato at first base. He's just kind of that generic like power hitter, doesn't have to move very much. Like, so
He's
like
that's Frank Thomas.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much right. Yeah, exactly. Like somebody like that,
Yeah.
like Teixeira, whatever.
Yeah,
just this big hulking guy. Like he can hit you. He's gonna have power.
Yep.
And like you don't need him to run a lot.
He's a 3 outcome guy. He's 3 outcome.
Well, I don't know how his batting eye is, so
Okay,
we'll see.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the Adam Dunn, right? So maybe I should have had him be DH. I don't know.
There you
I
go.
didn't think about that.
There you go. I forgot to say
so
if we
like,
were going to be in the American League or not. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. They have the DH in the.
Oh, that's right.
Now,
that's
but...
right. Yeah. See, so much I pay attention. But yeah. Continue.
So, I think I was thinking, what's his name? Tokiyami.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have him at short.
Okay.
I feel like with Dark Shadow, he's probably gonna have like pretty good range.
Okay.
I don't know. Now that being said, right? You got day game, night game. Like, is that going to impact his like ability to play? I don't know.
He may be like a platoon guy.
It's definitely we're definitely taking some risks, so we'll see.
Yeah, I like it.
I guess on that, like, so I was thinking like Asui could be good at second. Okay. I feel like she can turn like a slick like double play combination, right?
Yeah.
She's got a little bit of that like gymnast, and like obviously she has like a decent throwing arm. She's throwing her like acid at what's his face Ayama, right? So she's on the second base side, so she doesn't need like a super strong arm to make the throw to first. So like I think she could cover second.
Okay.
And then let's see. I guess like other outfielders, right? Like it's a little dicey. I think you want like some power and like somebody that is gonna have like range, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, what was the guy from the other school with like the air powers?
Oh, I don't know his name, but I know you're talking. The guy with like he has like the jacket or the cape, right?
Yeah, and like the big like fur collar.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I would have him in right field.
Okay.
He seems like he's probably got like a strong arm, make like those like tough throws.
Okay.
And like he can levitate, so like he's gonna steal some home runs, right?
Sure. Okay. I like it.
Let's see if we're sticking. You know what? I think for starting pitcher, so he's got like a million arms.
Oh,
he's gonna have so many different release points. Like you don't even know which hand is gonna have the ball, right?
Yeah,
that's cheating.
I like
that's
that.
Awesome.
It is quite cheating because he could fake the ball coming out of his left. Right, and be throwing like underhand, like
it's like you think it's coming 3/4 sidearm and it's boom straight over the top.
Yeah, there you go.
No chance.
Yeah,
no
Mezzo
chance.
would be really good right there. I like that.
I think so. Here's the thing. I might got to do like a Shohei Ohtani type thing where I have like Bakugo like DH, but I want him to also be like the closer.
Okay.
Because like he definitely has the mentality for it. He's completely nuts, super aggressive. Absolute, and like with his like explosions, right? He's gonna blow up by everybody. That's just like a Roldis Chapman out there, like throwing the heat.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
I don't know. I mean, catcher is such a generic thing. Like you just need somebody back there. Maybe like tail guy. He's
Oh
got his
yeah,
big tail. Like he'll be
Ojiro.
able to like
Yeah,
block the plate really good.
Ojiro. Yeah, I get that. That's cool.
And so what? I still need what, an outfielder and third base?
Yeah, an outfielder and third base. Yeah.
Ooh. I guess we can put what's his name at third, probably, right? Todoroki.
Okay.
Call it like the hot corner.
Oh
He's
yeah, I
got
like
hot
that.
cold.
Ooh, look at that. Man with puns.
So
JT is
yeah,
screaming
yeah.
somewhere.
And then what? We need another outfielder. I don't know. Who do we think can hit? Left field. Left field, you got to hit.
Left field,
Or
you
maybe
have
have
to
some
hit.
range.
I mean, like, unless you want him on the DL all the time, I guess you could say Deku, but he's always going to be on the DL. So
yeah, I don't trust him to have like any ability without just like hurting himself. You know,
sounds like Jimenez right there. You know, so always gets hurt every time he does something.
Trying to think of who else we got. Yeah, I don't trust Denki at all. Like he's a moron. Like
yeah. I mean,
guy,
Kirishima
seem,
would be
you know
really
what?
good. Yeah, I think Kirishima would be somewhere on the
Kirishima.
field.
All right, I'm sold. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I could do that.
I think he'd be the fan favorite. Like he'd out there in right field, kind of like
There you
chatting
go.
with the fans, you know, because he seems
All
like
right.
he's very personable. I like that, you know. That'd be pretty sweet.
I don't know how fast he is, which is like a little bit of a concern. But
True.
again, like literally, if the ball's in the air, it doesn't matter because like Ida can help him out.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, like Ida's gonna cover like 3/4 of the field anyway, so it doesn't
Exactly.
really matter.
Yeah.
So who is your manager? Okay. Who is your manager leading all this?
Ooh. We'll go with like Night Eye, right? He's the tactician.
Oh
so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it. That's awesome. I like that team. That team seems pretty sick. I like that.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so we got your baseball team. I like it. Now I need to watch the baseball movie to see how close you were in those guesses. So
I have no idea.
I have not seen
it. When's it come out?
I think it's already out, but I know your ball might's in the mail, so it should get to you by Monday.
All right.
Thank you, Phil Birch and Andrew Holder, for that. So moving on, I kind of wrote down a double question, so I'm gonna have to ad lib this guy. So with the recent news of these new store provisionals that are going to be happening in season 3 and going forward, do you think that's just going to? Because I know like a big focus was the promo situation, how if you don't play in these provisionals and you don't want to redeem things, I guess, which doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't redeem anything because it's free for the most part.
Right.
Do you think that you'll get like more players at like? I guess. Do you think the game's going to grow even more now, just because of these store championship type events? And what do you think? Like, what do you think your average size, like estimation? How big do you think these events are going to get?
I think it sort of depends, right? I think I would think for the most part, like, you know, they'll probably be the average one. I think would probably be somewhere in like the 10 to 30 ish. Because like I know especially if like they're once per month, like I would at least like look at like some of the like VA stores, like down in Virginia. I mean, because we sort of like talked to some of those guys anyway about like, man, like it'd be cool if we had like a slightly bigger event, because like that, you know, it's like somewhere between like a 3 or 4 hour drive, and it's just not worth doing for
locals.
Just like a casual type thing.
Yeah.
But like a once a month thing to like play with like a bigger group, like you know, I think that's like pretty sweet. And really, so that's the thing, is I don't know if it'll necessarily like grow the player base, but I think it gives a reason to come out. You know what I mean? Like I think like some of the people that, you know, are just like, oh well, you know, I already have like the plus ultra cards that I want, or I don't care about like the plus ultra cards. You know, it's definitely sort of a nice thing for like the players that sort of fancy themselves like a bit more competitive, you know, that want that kind of like measuring stick to go up against, to be like, oh, you know, if I can take this down, like I can get like 2 copies of like each promo or whatever. So like that's definitely nice. And like, right, it's sort of a thing, I guess, to sort of like introduce some of your more like new players to, of just be like, hey, like this is the kind of event where, you know, like, bring those decks that like you think are really good, or like, you know, people, or, you know, if you have players that are sort of like net decking or whatever, like that's the kind of like week where it's just like, look, like, go ahead, like, even if you make people miserable, like that's fine. Like this is the kind of weekend where, you know, we're actually going to be competitive.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives them that sort of feeling. And I guess that's the thing, right? Like that's the kind of thing that can prepare you to go to like a regional, to go to some like a bigger event and just be like, look, like this is an event where like, oh, you made a mistake, like no, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, you know, like you know, this is like a real deck, like this is like a scary deck. And I think like it's nice to have something like in between like just casual locals and, you know, some 200-person event.
Yeah.
And like, I guess you can play online. I have no interest in playing online. So, and I'm sure there are plenty of other players that are like that as well.
Yeah.
So.
It did when I was at Gen Con, and I think the last in person I was at, I was at Orlando, and you could totally tell like just the feeling in the room compared to like a webcam event, because great thing about webcam, not gonna lie, is I can go to the bathroom in my own bathroom. I can go get my own food out of my own fridge, you know. So it's not, it's a lot less cost effective, but it's not the same like feeling as if like I'm in the same room as like with like a Kevin Broberg or Phil Birch or Andrew Holder, or just your friends, because it's there's something said like for in-person interaction, because that's like one big thing about this game is that you really interact with your opponent more often than I don't know. I haven't played Magic. I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh. I've only played Versus System and DBZ, and those games were somewhat interactive. So every game that I've played personally has always been, I want to play a game. I don't want to just sit there and play solitaire and then just be like I win or I lose. And I want to have fun and bantering back and forth at like my opponent across. Like I was playing against Garrett this weekend, and me and him were having we were just chit chatting the entire time, and throwing attacks at each other, and it was a blast.
I heard you beat him.
Yeah, I did. I kind of have his number, but he's gonna get me one of these days. Once he finds a character he really likes, I think he's gonna get he's gonna punk me out and just be like, yeah, this is for the. Cause I did something to him in a board game that he was like, why'd you do that? Now I didn't win, and I came in second, and I think he came in dead last. So I think I pissed Garrett off. So I think it's I've awakened. Was it they call it like, was it in like Pearl Harbor? They go, we have awakened the sleeping giant. So you know.
So watch. Is that in the movie? I haven't seen the movie.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I'm not sure, but watch out, kids. If you're going to Pasadena and Garrett Brett's there, we're probably all gonna die. So it's a possibility. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was really good seeing everybody. I hadn't seen Garrett in like 2 years.
I guess one of the things too, though, like I think it's probably still worth running online events, maybe like forever. I mean, there's definitely players that like would like to play in the events, and even just like the bigger ones. And I mean, you can see from the entries, I mean, they've dropped off a little bit just because like there's options now. But some of those first events that were just absolutely huge, and there are definitely players that are gonna want to play and like can't make a trip to something, or like I guess that's the nicest thing, is like you don't have to get on a plane, you don't have to fill up your car, you don't have to get a hotel, you don't have to like do any of that other stuff. Like you said, like literally you can just play in your pajamas and like make a sandwich and just have it sit next to you.
That's
and like
what I do.
The sort of comfort and ease of like playing online, if you're willing to sort of deal with like the webcam and like kind of go like, hey, like what's that card up there? Like what, how many whatever do you have? Like not like something like that, like not being able to like check a discard pile, or like double like easily sort of be like, hey, can I see that foundation? Like I just want to like read it again.
Exactly.
Like those are the things that like probably are the most like frustrating to me about like trying to play online. But yeah, I mean, and like as just sort of like a troll player, like just you don't get to see their face of just like frustration.
Of frustration,
just that like. Although the way I've been playing recently, like that's my face.
Oh no! I mean, I don't know. I think that like about the playing the fun decks and playing the real competitive decks. I think there's a place to do it at locals as long as you say, "Hey guys, I'm prepping for an event. I'm bringing this
Mm.
said deck." At least give people fair warning. Not just don't drop it. Like don't drop 50 card Asui on them out of nowhere. It's like, "Hey guys,
Maybe.
you can. I mean, people have, but like, and at least with in my play group, we're just like, hey, we're testing for Gen Con. We're bringing our decks.
Right.
Just bring your best deck, or just be prepared to go to O2. It's like
Mm-hmm.
just be prepared to get beat on or to beat or to beat up on people. You just got to be kind of like be helpful to your friends and don't let them just don't blast them into infinity out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too, like for me right now, like because I really just don't have designs on like playing in a lot of this, like stuff that requires like real travel. Like,
Sure.
that's the thing is, we'll probably go to Rochester just because, like,
Ooh, nice.
we haven't been to Rochester in so long, and
Yeah.
like seeing those guys and whatever. But like, I do not expect to do well, and like I'm not that worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have not played like seriously competitive universes, honestly, like since that PTC in Jersey.
Okay.
That was back in what, like 2019.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So,
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Like,
but
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, you could end up like
maybe I
you could
should, right? I can get these, like, get these top cards and sell
you
them for
you
like
could
$5,000.
you could end up like Dave Wagner, who just played in a local on Chris Bromley's channel, and now he has like that itch to travel now. So you could end up being like that, like just getting sucked back in, man. It's what
You
happened to
never know.
me. It happened to me. Win an event and start traveling all over
Ooh,
the place. It's just like, it's not, I guess it's okay. It's fun. It's a lot of fun seeing everybody. So, but yeah. So as we wrap up the show, because we're almost about up to an hour or so.
so
Uh,
that's about right.
yeah. So, uh, what do you tell the people what's going on? Like, do you have anything? And like, you said you're going to Rochester. Do you have any plans for it? Like,
Presumably, I mean, I don't know
yeah,
when, like, even
yeah,
the registration for that is.
yeah,
Like, I don't think
yeah,
it's open yet. So,
yeah. Or I mean, like,
um,
just tell people what you're up to. Like,
not a lot.
I guess,
Honestly, like,
what you're
as
looking
far as
at
the
in New
game
Group.
goes,
Yeah, as far as the game goes.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as far as the game goes, like, so with kind of the departure, with going from sort of like UFS or Universes, I guess they had sort of changed the name, but going to sort of like the MHA game, like, I didn't join like the new Discord servers. I didn't join like the new Facebook groups and any of that. And honestly, for no other reason of like, I basically, like, for me, it was sort of like the best thing I can do for like new players is not be around them. I obviously, like, people who are like familiar with like our
Yeah.
older content, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of had like a reputation as being sort of like pessimistic,
Yeah.
and definitely had an adversarial relationship with Jasco.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing too, is like, there's a lot of it that I guess like I feel better about with like some of the new management.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, right, when Jasco is still sort of like running, and it's just like I'm gonna let them do their thing. Like, these guys, if they're hyped for this game, that's great. Like, if I get a locals, that's great. And like, I'll just hang out in like the old like crappy Discord, and we can just talk shit or
Yeah.
whatever. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I guess that's still the case. Like, so there's a lot of stuff where I'm not necessarily in the loop unless like somebody tells
Yeah.
me.
Sure.
I have no idea what goes on in the official Discord. I
Yeah.
have no idea what goes on in Bromley's Discord. And that's fine. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, it's far more enjoyable for me to not be involved at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
I think you and I, like, we honestly, I would say like we both burned out, right? Like,
Yeah, I think
you
so.
definitely
Oh
did,
yeah, I did. Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
like,
Yeah.
I think it was just better to. I guess that's the thing, right? Like, I definitely get a little bit of like an itch sometimes, of like, oh man, like,
Mhm.
I feel like there's some like content that could be made, like.
Yeah.
Right, like you sort of talked about like some of the deck lists, doing something like that, doing like a deck list, doing
Mhm.
like a breakdown, or like, like even just something stupid like a tier list. Like,
Yeah.
those are sort of like interesting like concepts, but then I'm just like, but I don't want to make it. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like put in that time. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, I know that there's like a lot of like new people that have like sprung up that are like doing a lot of that stuff,
Mhm.
and like,
Mhm.
man, more power to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of
I
nice to
guess
not have to carry the load like we used to back in the day. So
yeah.
it's really nice. So.
I mean, the only thing I did do is I did make like a template for like customs, but I don't really know if that's like out and about. So I should probably look into that of just like putting everything in like a Google Drive or something.
Yeah.
So I presume that there's sort of like an interest in being able to do stuff like that. I know there've been a
Yeah.
few like kind of like custom like contests and whatnot,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
I've definitely heard of people like posting some stuff that like the quality wasn't necessarily like great, but
Yeah.
maybe I'll look into that and
Man,
just
I keep
doing
sending
something and sharing a link around or
I
something.
I keep sending the guys on design the Canyon Cannon card, and I'm like, when, give it to me now, because
Hey, I mean,
make
I
my
had
lady.
I had the ally card for Koji too.
I know. Didn't you have
The symbols weren't right,
no?
but
You had
I'm just saying.
chaos. I think you had chaos on him, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was like chaos or avoid, but
you had at least one symbol correct. So that's a start. Because chaos
I mean,
is
the
his only
idea was
symbol right
that
now, anyways.
I mean, if he was ally, he had to share something with like
Tokiyami.
Tokiyami because that's
Yeah.
the only person that had ally cards.
Yeah. Correct.
And evil didn't make sense, and like really fire didn't make sense. So it was like, all right, chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like some of the other stuff, it was just like the idea was that it would mesh well with like honestly like Kuragiri. I think Kuragiri like could have used like the other effect. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's still cool.
yeah,
It's hey man, hey, people love making their fan cards. I made an entire set.
exactly.
We and Rockford made an entire set before Jasco
You
even got
did. You
set
made the
one up.
entire My Hero set
Set
before My Hero
even
even
came
was a
out.
license.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We were just like, hey man,
Yep.
we're beating you guys to the punch because it's fun. It's like it's just something small and fun that people, card gamers love to have their own cards. So, you know.
And that's the best thing, man. Is they can be like, "Look at this card I made," and you're like, "God, I'm so glad that person isn't on design."
Very true. It's like that card's broken 3 ways to Sunday, man. You can't play
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah, because like I made this Yazurozu multiple card that fed itself, and that wasn't good. That was bad. That was broken. Yeah.
There you go.
But hey, man, it was fun. It was keyword spaghetti the character, and that made Thomas Gordon's dream. So yeah. But okay, well, cool. Well, I mean, like, I guess that's all we got. Like, we hit the 10 questions, and I
Cool.
say thank you for coming on. It's been a good time chatting with you. I'm gonna try to get
Yeah.
you on the actual podcast, and once you
Oh,
start.
there's a podcast too. Oh
So I
man.
mean, like
All right.
like the Universe Academy podcast is me, Childress, John Jennings, and Ryan Kraft. So it's either it's one of it's four. It's usually three of us. Ryan's usually producing in the background because he rather play cards than talk about cards.
Mm-hmm.
But if you and Scott go to Rochester, I'm definitely
Okay.
gonna have to get you on and get your new
Okay.
player experience for traveling. So
I was gonna say that's one thing for sure about like sometimes is like
yeah.
my takes were bad before. They're even worse. Like
Worse
I have
now.
no idea what's going on. I'm not
Yeah.
playing these events.
Oh
People
yeah.
are like,
Yeah.
this character's broken, and I'm like, it looks kind of broken.
Looks kind of broken.
Maybe.
Awesome. She's okay.
They're like, you haven't gotten blown up on turn 2, have you? And I'm like, sure haven't.
Sure haven't. We got killed in
Life is sweet when you never play Asui, man.
Man, we've been killed on turn 1 in the old game, so whatever, So it's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, I just want to say thanks, and you're
Sure.
welcome back anytime, man. It was a really great time catching up and hanging out and just shooting the shit. Even though my video, it was all foobarred and whatever. This is gonna be a better listening podcast than it will be watching cast. So,
well, I was gonna say that's the other thing too, right? Is like, everybody can. What is it? Does this get posted to YouTube, right?
It gets posted to YouTube. It gets posted to
So
Apple.
I'll tell you what, everybody in the comments, let Chris know if my audio for this is way better than any episode of the Guile Treatment that you ever watched.
Can I tell you already? Probably. I'm gonna tell you hands down. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so it'll also be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of those podcast things. They put out the audio too, so because there are people who don't want to watch a video, they want to listen to it, and it's easier to listen to it on a podcasting form. So
yeah.
All right, Ryan. Here's the time where you roll those sweet ass credits, buddy. Have a good night, everybody. See ya.